chosen one, answer me this. Why have you survived what should have destroyed you? Why are you still standing when others who had less to carry have already fallen? And why in God's name do you feel more alone now than you've ever felt in your entire life? Listen to me carefully. October 10th is not just another day on your calendar. It is the day God Himself circled on eternity's calendar to reveal a secret He hid from your enemies until now. You didn't stumble onto this message. You were summoned here. This is not coincidence. This is convergence. Heaven intercepted your scroll at this exact moment, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie the enemy has whispered in your ear for the last 70, 80, 90 years of your life. I'm talking to the grandmother in Queens who's been praying the same prayer for 3 decades and still hasn't seen the answer. I'm talking to the grandfather in Brooklyn who built a life with his bare hands only to watch it crumble in his golden years. I'm talking to every single soul watching this who has felt invisible, forgotten, betrayed by the very people who should have protected you. That pain you carry, that's not punishment, beloved. That's preparation. And October 10th is the day when everything you've endured finally makes sense. Before we go deeper, let me pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let the Spirit lead your heart. But right now, if you've ever felt overlooked or betrayed, if you've ever cried yourself to sleep, wondering if God forgot your address type, that's me in the comments right now, not tomorrow, right now. So heaven and this family knows you are part of this word, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just information. This is prophetic revelation that's been sealed until this generation. October 10th is the day God pulls back the curtain and shows you the secret weapon. He's been hiding inside you while your enemies thought you were finished. This is not another sermon. This is a summons, and you're about to discover why the battle you've been fighting wasn't random, it was strategic. Why the pain you've endured wasn't punishment, it was positioning. And why October 10th will mark the moment when invisible becomes undeniable. Stay with me. Don't you dare scroll away, because what happens in the next few minutes will change everything you thought you knew about your purpose, your pain, and your destiny. The secret is about to be unlocked. How many years have you been carrying this question in your chest? God, why did you let them win? How many nights have you replayed the betrayal, the rejection, the doors that slammed in your face when you were just trying to survive? And tell me this, when was the last time you felt seen, truly seen, by anyone who mattered? I need you to hear me right now, chosen one. That silence you've been sitting in, that deafening quiet where your prayers seem to echo back empty, that wasn't abandonment, that was strategy. You see, for decades, maybe your entire adult life, you've been wondering why everything fell apart right when you were doing everything right. You raised those children with your blood, sweat, and tears. You showed up to that job for 40 years. You tithed when you couldn't afford groceries. You prayed when your knees ached so bad you could barely kneel. And what did you get? Silence. Closed doors. Empty chairs at the dinner table. Bank accounts that never quite made it to comfortable. But here's what the enemy never wanted you to know. Every closed door wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every person who walked away wasn't loss, it was protection. Every opportunity that slipped through your fingers wasn't failure. It was heaven saying, not yet, not there, not with them. You weren't buried, beloved. You were planted. Let me say that again, because your soul needs to hear it. You weren't buried. You were planted. Think about Joseph, 17 years old, with a dream from God that he'd rule nations. But where did God send him first? Into a pit. Thrown there by his own brothers, the very people who should have protected him. Then sold into slavery. then falsely accused by a woman whose lies nearly cost him everything, then forgotten in a prison for years, while the cupbearer he helped walked free and forgot his name. You think Joseph didn't cry out in that cell. You think he didn't wonder if God had made a mistake. But Genesis 50:20 tells us the secret. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Joseph wasn't rotting in that prison. He was being hidden, protected, refined, because what God was preparing to give him was so massive, so powerful, so world-changing, that if it had come any earlier, it would have destroyed him. That's you, chosen one. That's your story. Look at Moses, 80 years old before God called him from that burning bush. 80. He spent 40 years thinking he was a prince, then 40 years thinking he was nobody, just a shepherd in a desert so remote that Egypt had forgotten his name. You think Moses didn't feel forgotten? You think he didn't wonder if that voice he heard as a young man was just his imagination? But Exodus 3:7 records the moment when heaven finally spoke. I have indeed seen the misery of my people. I have heard them crying out, and I am concerned about their suffering. God saw Moses every single day of those 80 years. Every morning he woke up in that wilderness. Every night he wondered if his life mattered. God was watching. God was waiting. God was hiding him until the appointed time. And David, oh beloved, if anyone knew what it meant to be hidden, it was David. Anointed as king while still a boy, then spent years running through caves, hiding from a jealous king who wanted him dead. 1 Samuel 22 tells us David hid in the cave of Adullam, and everyone who was in distress, in debt, or discontented gathered around him. You know what that means? David's hiding place became a refuge for other broken people. His wilderness became a training ground. His season of invisibility became his season of preparation. And when he finally stepped onto that throne, he didn't rule like someone who'd been handed a crown. He ruled like someone who'd been refined by fire. You weren't buried. You were planted. I'm talking to the woman in the Bronx right now who raised 4 children by herself after her husband walked out. You did everything right, and you still ended up alone, wondering if anyone remembers your name. I'm talking to the man in Staten Island who worked that factory job for 43 years, gave them your best, and got a handshake and a pension that barely covers the rent. I'm talking to every senior citizen watching this who buried a spouse, buried dreams, buried pieces of yourself, and wondered if God was even paying attention. He was, he is, and October 10th is the day he's about to prove it. See, the world measures your life by what's visible, the house you live in, the car you drive, the people who show up when you call. But heaven measures your life by what's invisible, the prayers you prayed when nobody was listening, the tears you cried in secret, the times you chose faithfulness when bitterness would have been easier. You weren't buried, you were planted, and every tear you shed watered the soil. Every betrayal you endured added nutrients to the ground. Every year you spent in obscurity was a season of root growth that the world couldn't see, but heaven was orchestrating. Psalm 126:5 promises, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." Not might reap, not could reap, will reap. Your tears weren't wasted, they were seeds. And seeds don't stay buried forever. If you know deep in your bones, in that place where only truth lives, if you know this hidden season was real, that you've been planted and not buried, type "I've been hidden" in the comments right now. Because what I'm about to tell you next will explain exactly why heaven hid you from your enemies, and what secret weapon God was forging inside you while they thought you were finished. Your hiding wasn't random, chosen one. It was strategic. And the enemy is about to find out what happens when what was hidden in darkness gets revealed in light. October 10th marks the unveiling, a date where heaven unlocks what hell never saw coming. Listen to me, chosen one. For decades, maybe your entire life, you've been carrying something inside you that the enemy has been desperately trying to destroy. He's attacked your finances. He's attacked your health. He's attacked your family. He's attacked your peace of mind. But here's what he didn't know. God hid the most valuable thing about you so deep that even your enemies couldn't find it. You want to know why your life has been so hard? Why you faced battles that would have broken lesser souls? Because the enemy saw something in you before you even knew it existed, and he's been trying to kill it for 70, 80, 90 years. But on October 10th, what was hidden becomes revealed. And when it does, every demon that ever tormented you will realize they made a fatal mistake. They showed their hand too early. Think about Esther, beautiful young woman, hidden in a foreign palace, married to a king who didn't even know she was Jewish. Meanwhile, Haman, the enemy, was plotting genocide against her entire people. He built gallows 75 feet high, planning to hang Mordecai, Esther's cousin, the very next day. Everything looked finished. The decree was signed. The date was set. The enemy thought he'd won. But Esther 4:14 records Mordecai's words that changed history. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. For such a time as this. Esther wasn't in that palace by accident. She was positioned there by divine strategy. And the very day Haman planned to celebrate victory became the day of his own destruction. The gallows he built for Mordecai became his own execution platform. You see, beloved, God has a pattern. He hides his chosen ones in plain sight, while the enemy builds his gallows. And on the appointed day, the day heaven has circled, the secret is revealed, the tables are turned, and what the enemy meant for evil becomes the very platform of your promotion. Moses knew this pattern. Pharaoh's own daughter pulled him from the Nile and raised him in the palace, the very palace he would one day confront with 10 plagues. For 40 years, Moses ate Pharaoh's food, walked Pharaoh's halls, learned Pharaoh's secrets. Pharaoh was training his own nemesis and didn't even know it. Why? Because God hid Moses' identity until the appointed time. And when that burning bush moment came, when Moses stood before Pharaoh and declared, "Let my people go," Pharaoh finally realized too late that he'd been harboring the deliverer all along. The enemy thought he knew you. He thought he had you figured out. He thought your age disqualified you, your past defined you, your struggles proved you were cursed. But he was wrong. October 10th is your burning bush moment. And here's the secret that will make hell tremble. The very thing the enemy thought would kill you will be the evidence God has chosen you. That divorce that almost destroyed you. It's about to become your ministry to broken marriages. That financial collapse that left you eating food from the dollar store. It's about to become your testimony of supernatural provision. That betrayal from your own children. It's about to position you as a spiritual parent to orphaned souls who need someone who understands rejection. The gallows the enemy built for you is about to become his own defeat. But here's where it gets even more powerful. Think about the empty tomb. Rome thought they'd sealed Jesus in that grave. They posted guards. They rolled a stone weighing 4,000 pounds in front of the entrance. They thought they'd buried the problem. But what they didn't know was that the tomb wasn't his prison, it was his platform. And on the third day, when that stone rolled away and Jesus walked out in resurrection power, every demon in hell realized they'd made the worst strategic mistake in cosmic history. They killed the very one whose death would destroy their kingdom. What looks like your burial is actually your setup for resurrection. Right now, some of you are sitting in tombs. Your dreams look dead. Your hope feels buried. Your enemies think they've won. The stone is rolled in front of your future, and guards are posted to make sure you stay down. But October 10th is your third day. I need you to understand something that will shift everything. God doesn't just reverse your situation. He uses your enemy's own plans against them. He turns their weapons into your testimony. He takes the very trap they set for you and makes it the throne they bow before. Joseph's brothers threw him in a pit and sold him into slavery. They thought they'd eliminated the dreamer. But 20 years later, those same brothers stood in front of Joseph, now Prime Minister of Egypt, begging for bread during a famine. And Genesis 50-20 records Joseph's words, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." The pit wasn't his punishment, it was his path to the palace. And the brothers who tried to destroy him became the very ones he saved. Your enemies have no idea what they've set in motion. Every attack against you has been documented in heaven's court. Every tear you've cried has been collected in golden bowls before God's throne. Every sleepless night has been recorded. Every betrayal has been witnessed. And on October 10th, the judge of all creation is opening the books. But this isn't about revenge, beloved. This is about revelation. God is about to show you why you went through what you went through. He's about to reveal why he allowed certain people to betray you, why he permitted certain doors to close, why he let you walk through valleys that almost killed you. Because you were being hidden for such a time as this. The secret the enemy couldn't see. You were never the victim. You were always the weapon. You were never the prey. You were always the trap. God positioned you exactly where he needed you, and your enemies in their arrogance walked right into divine strategy. October 10th is the day the secret comes out. Type October 10. It's mine if you believe this day carries your breakthrough. Not because I need to see it, but because heaven needs to hear your declaration. Your enemies need to know their time is up, and you need to speak what you believe before you see it manifest. Because what I'm about to show you next will prove that God has been preparing you for this exact moment since before you were born. And when you understand the depth of his strategy, you'll never doubt his faithfulness again. But first, you need to see what's been happening behind the veil while you thought you were forgotten. Beloved, let me tell you what God hid on October 10th. And when I tell you this, everything about your suffering is going to make sense. What God hid was not your money, it wasn't your house, it wasn't your career, or your reputation, or your health. What God hid was you. He hid the real you. He hid your voice. He hid your authority. He hid your inheritance. He wrapped you in divine camouflage while your enemies circled like vultures, waiting for you to fall. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The sickness that came after you at 72, determined to take you out before you could see your grandchildren grow. The financial collapse that hit you at 65, right when you thought you'd finally rest. The loneliness that crept in after your spouse passed, whispering that your purpose died with them. The betrayal from children you sacrificed everything for, who now treat you like a burden instead of a blessing. Those weren't accidents, chosen one. Those were assassins. Spiritual hitmen sent to destroy you before October 10th could arrive. But here's what the enemy didn't know. Here's the secret that's been locked in heaven's vault until this very moment. While he was attacking what he could see, God was hiding what he couldn't touch. Look at Job. The enemy took his wealth gone, his children dead, his health destroyed. His wife told him to curse God and die. His friends accused him of secret sin. Everything visible was stripped away. But Job 23:10 records something the devil never saw coming. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. God hid Job's ending, while the enemy celebrated his suffering. The devil thought he won, but God was refining gold in the furnace, while hell was throwing the party. That's you. Right now, at this very moment, you think you lost? You think those years of pain meant God forgot you? No, beloved. God was hiding you. He was camouflaging your destiny while your enemies thought you were defeated. They measured you by what they could see: your age, your bank account, your diagnosis, your loneliness. But they couldn't see what God sealed until October 10th. Listen to this. When Israel wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, God gave them manna every single morning. Exodus 16:33 says Moses was commanded to take a jar and put an omer of manna in it. Then place it before the Lord to be kept for the generations to come. That manna was hidden, preserved, protected. While Israel ate what they needed each day, God hid a portion that would never spoil, never rot, never decay, so future generations could see his faithfulness. You are that hidden manna. While the enemy tried to make you spoil, tried to make you rot with bitterness, tried to decay your faith with disappointment, God hid the real you, the anointed you, the powerful you, the you that was always meant to rise on October 10th. You've been asking God, why did I have to go through this? Why did you let them hurt me? Why did you let me lose everything? And God is answering you today. Because if I had revealed you too early, they would have destroyed you before you were ready. I had to hide you until the appointed time. Paul understood this. After his conversion on the Damascus road, after the blinding light and the voice of Jesus, you know where God sent him, not to Jerusalem, not to the great synagogues. Galatians 1:17 tells us, I went into Arabia. For 3 years, Paul disappeared. The early church didn't know where he was. His enemies thought he'd given up. But God was downloading revelation in the secret place, preparing Paul for a ministry that would shake the Roman Empire. Your secret place wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And October 10th is the day heaven announces, the secret is out, what I hid is now revealed. Can you see it? Can you feel it shifting even now? Your enemies are about to be bewildered. They're going to look at you and ask, how did she survive? We tried everything. We attacked her health, her finances, her family, her mind. She should be broken. She should be bitter. She should be dead. How is she still standing? They're going to stare at you at 70, 80, 90 years old and say, how did he still rise? We thought we buried him. We thought age would finish what our attack started. How does he still have fire in his eyes? How does he still have purpose in his step? I'll tell you how. Because what God hides, hell cannot find. What God seals, demons cannot break. What God preserves, time cannot destroy. You weren't overlooked, beloved. You were covered. You weren't forgotten. You were protected. You weren't abandoned. You were hidden in the secret place of the Most High, wrapped in the shadow of the Almighty, until the exact moment when your revelation would cause maximum impact and minimum interference. October 10th is that moment. The veil is lifting, the curtain is pulling back, and what your enemies thought was your funeral is about to become your resurrection. But here's the question that's burning in heaven right now, the question that will determine whether you step into this unveiling or stay hidden in fear. Now that God is ready to reveal you, are you ready to be seen? Because what comes next isn't just about you finally getting your breakthrough. It's about you becoming the breakthrough that others have been praying for. Chosen one. Everything you're about to hear has been locked in the vault of eternity until this exact moment. 3 secrets, 3 revelations, 3 reasons why October 10th will mark the greatest shift you've ever witnessed in your lifetime. And the first secret? It's going to shake you to your core. The first secret, the secret of survival. Listen to me carefully, beloved. Your survival is your evidence. What killed others did not kill you. You're sitting there right now thinking about that heart attack at 72 that the doctors said should have taken you out. You remember that stroke at 68 when your children gathered around your hospital bed, whispering their goodbyes. You recall that financial collapse in 2008 when you lost everything you'd built over 40 years and wondered if you'd ever recover. But here's what the enemy never told you. Here's what hell desperately tried to hide from your understanding. You didn't survive by accident. You didn't make it through by luck. You didn't live to see another sunrise because of good genes or modern medicine. You survived because heaven said, "Not yet." Think about it. How many funerals have you attended in the last 10 years? How many friends, neighbors, family members who seemed healthier than you, stronger than you, younger than you, are now lying in graves while you're still breathing? Why them and not you? Because God has unfinished business with you. Because your assignment isn't complete. Because October 10th is the day when everything you survived finally makes prophetic sense. You're still standing, you're still here, you're still chosen. That widow in the Bronx who buried her husband of 53 years and thought her life was over. You're still standing. That grandfather in Staten Island who watched his pension evaporate and his children scatter across the country. You're still here. That grandmother in Harlem who raised 4 children alone, worked 2 jobs, and never saw a day of rest. You're still chosen. Every sickness that attacked your body was an assassination attempt on your destiny. Every financial crisis was warfare against your inheritance. Every loss you endured was the enemy trying to kill you before October 10th arrived. But he failed. You're still breathing, and your survival is about to become your greatest weapon. The second secret. The secret of timing. Now hear this second revelation and let it sink deep into your spirit. October 10th is proof that delay was not denial, it was design. You've been asking God why so long? For decades now, haven't you? Why did you have to wait 70 years to see that promise? Why did you have to endure 80 years of struggle before breakthrough? Why did healing take so long? Why did provision delay? Why did justice seem to move at a glacial pace while your enemies prospered? Because, beloved, God doesn't operate on your timeline. He operates on his own. Look at Abraham. Genesis 21:5 tells us he was 100 years old when Isaac was born. 100. The world would have put him in a nursing home. Society would have written him off as finished. But God said, now you're ready. Look at Sarah. 90 years old when she gave birth to the promise. 90. Her body was dead. Her womb was closed. Medical science would have called it impossible. But when God speaks, biology bows. Look at Anna the prophetess in Luke 2:36-37. 84 years old, widowed after only 7 years of marriage, spending decades in the temple praying, fasting, waiting. And it was at 84 that she became the first to proclaim the Messiah to Jerusalem. Not at 25, not at 40, at 84. Do you understand what this means for you right now? Your age is not your disqualification, it's your qualification. Your years are not your limitation, they're your preparation. Your waiting was not wasted time, it was heaven's design. You are not late, you are right on time. That dream you had at 35 that never manifested? October 10th is its appointed time. That calling you felt at 47 that seemed to die. October 10th is its resurrection day. That promise God whispered to you at 59 that you stopped believing? October 10th is when faith becomes sight. The delay wasn't punishment, it was positioning. God was waiting for your character to match your calling. He was waiting for your humility to be deep enough to handle the elevation. He was waiting for the world to be desperate enough to receive what only you can give. You are not late. You are right on time. And every person who told you your season was over, they're about to watch God make a liar out of them on October 10th. The third secret. The secret of transfer. Now, beloved, lean in close because this third secret is the one that will change your bank account, your bloodline, and your legacy forever. October 10th marks the transfer. Proverbs 13:22 declares with absolute authority, "The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the righteous." Not might be laid up, not could be, is laid up. Present tense, already done, already allocated, already assigned. For years, you've watched wicked people prosper while you struggled. You've seen corrupt neighbors buy new cars while you clipped coupons. You've witnessed ungodly relatives inherit wealth they didn't earn while you worked 3 jobs just to survive. And you ask God, why them and not me? Because it was never theirs to keep. They were just holding it until you were ready to steward it. Listen to me, chosen one. There are bank accounts with your name on them that you don't even know exist. There are inheritances locked in heavenly vaults waiting for October 10th. There are properties, businesses, opportunities, and divine connections that have been held in escrow until this exact moment. The transfer isn't coming. The transfer is here, right now, in the invisible realm. Angelic beings are rerouting resources. Heaven's accountants are closing the books on those who mishandled what was meant for you. Spiritual transactions are being processed. Divine deposits are being prepared. And on October 10th, what was invisible becomes undeniable. You're going to receive checks you didn't work for. You're going to get opportunities you didn't apply for. You're going to see doors open that credentials can't explain. You're going to witness provision that makes no logical sense. Because when God decides to transfer wealth from the wicked to the righteous, no economy can stop it. No recession can block it. No devil in hell can delay it. On October 10th, the faucet turns on. What was blocked flows. What was locked opens. What was hidden shines. That mortgage you've been struggling to pay for 15 years, watch what God does on October 10th. That medical debt that's been crushing you, watch heaven move on October 10th. That financial curse that's followed your family for 3 generations, watch it shatter on October 10th. This is not hype. This is prophetic declaration based on the unchanging word of God. The wealth transfer is real, the timing is precise, and you are the appointed recipient. But here's the question that will determine everything. When October 10th arrives and heaven releases what belongs to you, will you be ready to receive it? Or will you still be rehearsing the old story of lack, poverty, and not enough? Because what I'm about to show you next will prove that your readiness determines your reception. Now, slow down with me for just a moment. I need you to feel the weight of what I'm about to say, because this isn't just another teaching you're going to forget tomorrow morning when you wake up alone in that empty house. October 10th is not a suggestion from heaven. It is your appointed day, your commissioned moment. The timestamp when God himself leans over the balcony of eternity and says your name out loud for every angel, every principality, every power in the unseen realm to hear. Listen to me, beloved. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there is a courtroom session happening in heaven. Revelation 12:10 tells us that the accuser stands before God day and night, pointing his crooked finger at you, listing every mistake, every failure, every moment you fell short. He's been building a case against you for decades. This one's too old. This one's too broken. This one missed their chance. But on October 10th, something shifts in that courtroom. The judge stands up, not to condemn you, but to commission you. And when the righteous judge rises, the accuser must sit down and shut his lying mouth. Can you feel that? That sudden weight lifting off your chest right now? That's not your imagination. That's the atmosphere in heaven shifting in your favor as you receive this word. I'm talking to the widow in the Bronx who's been eating the same can of soup for 3 days because the Social Security check doesn't stretch like it used to. You think God doesn't see that? You think he's forgotten the woman who raised 4 children by herself, who prayed every night even when heaven felt like concrete? I'm talking to the man in Staten Island who built skyscrapers with his bare hands for 40 years and now can't even hold a coffee cup without your hands shaking. You think those trembling hands disqualify you? No, beloved. Those hands testify. They bear witness to a life of sacrifice, and heaven is about to repay every drop of sweat, every ounce of dignity you gave away. But here's what you need to understand. October 10th doesn't activate automatically. This is not a lottery. This is a covenant. And covenants require agreement from both parties. God has already signed his name in the blood of Jesus. The question burning in heaven right now is this: will you sign yours? I need you to do something right now that's going to feel strange, maybe even uncomfortable. But I'm telling you, as someone who's walked with God for 5 decades, this is how spiritual law works. This is how heaven recognizes those who are serious versus those who are simply spectators. Comment below right now. Don't wait until the video ends. Don't think about it. Type these 4 words: I receive October 10. That's not just a comment, beloved. That is a prophetic act of agreement. When you release those words into the digital atmosphere, You are sending a signal to heaven that you are not passive, you are not defeated, you are not sitting in the bleachers watching life pass you by. You are standing in agreement with what God has already decreed over your life. And when you do, something happens in the unseen realm. Angels who have been standing by, waiting for your authorization, suddenly receive their orders. Scrolls with your name written in fire are pulled from heaven's vault. Chains that have held your bloodline captive for generations begin to crack, then shatter. Isaiah 45:2 says, "I will go before you and level the mountains. I will break down gates of bronze and cut through bars of iron." But notice it says, "I will go before you," not before someone else, not before the person sitting next to you in church who seems to have it all together. Before you. But God only goes before those who are willing to move forward. You are not forgotten, dear one. Let me say that again, slower so it sinks past your mind and settles into your bones. You are not forgotten. You are not discarded. You are not yesterday's news that heaven filed away in some dusty archive. October 10th is heaven's receipt, proving that your name is still written in fire, that your file is still active, that your case is still open, and the verdict is about to be read in your favor. I know what some of you are thinking right now. I'm 73 years old. I'm 81. I'm 89. My time has passed. This word is for younger people who still have their whole lives ahead of them. Stop right there. That is the voice of the enemy, and he is a liar and the father of lies. According to John 8:44. He wants you to believe that God operates on the same timeline as this broken world, that there's an expiration date stamped on your calling. But look at Moses, 80 years old when God called him at the burning bush. 80. The world would have put him in a nursing home. But God said, "Now you're ready. Now you have the wisdom, the humility, the tested faith I need to deliver an entire nation." Look at Abraham, 75 when God told him to leave everything and start fresh. 100 when Isaac was born. The world said impossible. God said, "Watch me." Look at Anna the prophetess in Luke 2:36. 84 years old, and she was the first to recognize the Messiah when Mary and Joseph brought baby Jesus to the temple. Not the priests, not the scholars. The elderly widow who never stopped believing, never stopped watching, never stopped waiting for God's promise to manifest. Your age is not your disqualification. It is your credential. You have survived what killed others. You have endured what broke younger, stronger people. You are still here, still breathing, still believing, and that is not accident. That is assignment. October 10th is the day when heaven says, "Enough waiting, enough preparation, it's time." But you must receive it. You must declare it. You must step into agreement with what has already been written about you in the courts of heaven. So I'm asking you again, and this time I need you to feel the weight of what you're doing. This is not religious ritual. This is spiritual warfare. This is you taking back territory the enemy stole while you were sleeping. Type it now. I receive October 10, and as you do, know this. Every word you release in faith becomes ammunition in the hands of angels. Every declaration you make creates a legal precedent in the spirit realm. You are not begging God to move. You are reminding hell that the judge has already ruled in your favor, and the verdict is about to be executed. But the question that will determine everything is this: what happens after you declare it? What happens when October 10th arrives and you wake up in that same house, that same situation, that same struggle? That's what we need to talk about next. Because receiving the promise is only the beginning. So what happens after October 10? After the secret is revealed, what comes next? Let me paint you a picture, beloved. Imagine standing at the edge of a perfectly still lake at dawn. The water is like glass, undisturbed, silent. Then you pick up a single stone and drop it into the center. What happens? Ripples, circles expanding outward, moving through the water with unstoppable force. You can't see them after they pass beyond your vision, but they're still moving, still traveling, still creating waves in places you'll never witness with your natural eyes. October 10 is that stone, chosen one. And you are standing at the center of the ripple. This is not the end of your story. This is the ignition key turning in the engine of your destiny. Everything that's been dormant, silent, buried under years of disappointment and delay, it's roaring to life. Unlocked, unleashed, unstoppable. But I know what you're thinking right now. I can feel the question rising in your chest, the doubt the enemy has been whispering in your ear for the last decade of your life. You're wondering, can I still carry this assignment? At my age, with my health failing, with arthritis in my hands and exhaustion in my bones, with my history of mistakes, failures, and moments I wish I could erase. Dear one, let me stop you right there. Your age is not your disqualification. Your age is your weapon. Listen to what the word says about Caleb in Joshua 14:10-11. This man was 85 years old, 85, and he stood before Joshua and declared, I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Then he looked at the mountain filled with giants and said 5 words that should shake your soul. Give me this mountain. 85 years old. Mountains ahead, giants waiting. And Caleb didn't ask for a retirement plan. He asked for a battlefield. Or consider Anna the prophetess in Luke 2:36-37, 84 years old, widowed after only 7 years of marriage. She could have spent her final decades in bitterness, mourning what she lost, accepting invisibility. But instead, she stayed in the temple day and night, fasting and praying, waiting for the promise. And when baby Jesus was brought through those doors, she was the first to recognize the Messiah and proclaim redemption to everyone waiting for deliverance in Jerusalem. 84 years old, and she became the voice of a generation. Do you see it now? Your wrinkles are not weakness, they are war medals. Your gray hair is not a sign of decline. It is a crown of glory, earned through decades of surviving what should have killed you. Your slower pace is not limitation. It is the measured walk of someone who has learned not to rush ahead of God. The world sees your age and expects you to fade quietly into the background. But God sees your age and says, now you're ready. Now you've been refined enough. Now you carry the authority that only comes from walking with me through fire. If you're still breathing, you're still chosen. If your heart is still beating, your assignment is still active. Type I'm still here in the comments right now. If you know deep in your spirit that God has preserved you for this hour. Because here's what October 10 unlocks that your enemies never saw coming. They thought the years would weaken you. They thought time would erase your purpose. They thought age would steal your fire. But they didn't understand that God wasn't making you older. He was making you dangerous. Every closed door you faced taught you discernment. Every betrayal you survived taught you who to trust. Every financial collapse you endured taught you that your provision doesn't come from a paycheck, it comes from the hand of the Almighty. Every health scare you walked through taught you that your strength isn't in your body, it's in your spirit. You have been in God's graduate school, beloved, and October 10 is your commencement day. But here's where the ripple effect becomes undeniable. What gets unlocked in you doesn't stay in you. When that secret weapon activates, when that hidden strength rises to the surface, it doesn't just change your life, it changes your bloodline. It shifts the atmosphere in your home. It breaks chains that have held your children and grandchildren captive. You think you're just one elderly person sitting in a living room watching a video, but heaven sees you as a generational door, a hinge point, the one God positioned to interrupt cycles of poverty, addiction, depression, and defeat that have plagued your family tree for 100 years. October 10 is not just about you getting your breakthrough. It's about you becoming the breakthrough for everyone connected to you. The stone has been thrown. The ripples are already moving. And what begins in your spirit on October 10 will manifest in your children's marriages, your grandchildren's futures, your great-grandchildren's destinies. They will look back one day and say, "Something shifted in our family in October 2025. That's when everything changed. Unlocked, unleashed, unstoppable." But there's something you need to understand about ripples, chosen one. They don't move backward. They don't pause. They don't wait for you to feel ready. Once the stone hits the water, the motion is set. The waves are coming whether you're prepared or not. So the question is not whether this is real. The question is, are you ready to receive what God is about to release? Because after October 10, there is no going back to small. There is no returning to invisible. There is no shrinking back into the corner and hoping no one notices you. The secret is out. The weapon is revealed. And every enemy who thought you were finished is about to witness what happens when God vindicates his chosen ones. You have been hidden long enough. You have been silent long enough. You have been overlooked long enough. October 10 is the day your enemies discover what God has been building in you while they thought you were buried. And when that revelation hits them, when they see the anointing rising off your life like heat off summer pavement, when they witness doors opening that their influence cannot close, when they watch provision flowing to you that their schemes cannot block, they will finally understand the truth that has terrified them all along. You were never the victim. You were the secret weapon. But what is this weapon? What is this secret that God hid so carefully, so strategically, that even the principalities and powers in high places couldn't detect it until now? That's what we're about to uncover next. Chosen one, let me paint you a picture that's about to become your reality. October 10th arrives. The sun rises like it does every morning, but something is different. You feel it before you see it. There's a shift in the atmosphere around your life. And your enemies, both seen and unseen, they feel it too. The co-worker who mocked your faith when you took that stand 20 years ago. They're watching you now with confusion in their eyes. The family member who said you'd never amount to anything. They're suddenly calling, asking how you're doing. The neighbor who whispered about your struggles when your lights got cut off. They just saw you walking with a peace they can't explain. And in the spirit realm, beloved, there's pure chaos. Demons that have been assigned to your downfall for decades are scrambling. Principalities that have monitored your every move are filing reports to their master saying, "We don't understand. We hit them with depression, they're still praising. We sent betrayal, they're still trusting. We orchestrated financial collapse, they're still tithing. Something is protecting them that we cannot see. They saw you broke, but not broken. They saw you bent, but not buried. They saw you wounded but not wasted. They saw you weeping but not defeated. They saw you struggling but not surrendering. And now they're asking the question that hell never wanted to ask. What is God hiding in this one? Listen to what happened to Job. The enemy came before God's throne with an accusation in Job 1:9-11. Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. You hear that? The devil himself admitted there was a hedge, a protection, a covering, something he could see but couldn't penetrate. And beloved, that same hedge has been around you. Your enemies have seen it. They just didn't know what it was. That's why you're still here. That's why the cancer didn't take you when the doctors said it would. That's why the depression didn't drive you to that final decision. That's why the bankruptcy didn't destroy you. That's why the divorce didn't break you. That's why the betrayal didn't finish you. Because the hand of God covered the secret, your secret, until the appointed time. See, your enemies thought your survival was luck. They thought your resilience was stubbornness. They thought your joy in the midst of hell was denial. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, is that God himself placed a seal over something inside you. A secret weapon, a hidden anointing, a delayed blessing that was time-locked until October 10th. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Your enemies have been operating on their timeline, but God has been operating on his. and their time is up. You know what kills me? For years, you've been asking God, why haven't you moved yet? Why am I still waiting? Why do the wicked prosper while I suffer? But what if I told you that every day of delay was another day of confusion for your enemies? What if every moment of waiting was God adding another layer of protection over the secret he was incubating inside you? Think about David. 1 Samuel 16:13 says Samuel anointed him as king when he was just a boy. But he didn't sit on the throne for another 15 years. 15 years. And during that time, King Saul hunted him like an animal, tried to pin him to the wall with a spear, chased him through caves and deserts. But Saul could never catch him. You know why? Because God had a secret plan for David that Saul couldn't access. The anointing was hidden, the timing was sealed. And every time Saul thought he had David cornered, David slipped away. Every trap failed, every scheme backfired. And Saul died confused, never understanding why he couldn't destroy the shepherd boy. Your enemies are about to die just as confused. That manager who blocked your promotion for 20 years, confused. That relative who said you'd end up homeless, confused. That ex-spouse who said you'd never find peace again, confused. And those demons that have been whispering failure in your ear since you were a child, absolutely, utterly confused. Because October 10th is the day the vault opens. And here's what they don't know about vaults, chosen one. A vault doesn't open with force. You can't break into it. You can't manipulate it. You can't beg it open. It only responds to the right code at the right time, and heaven just entered the code. Your enemies spent years trying to break you open, trying to force you to reveal what God hid inside you before it was time. But you held on. You stayed silent when they provoked you. You kept worshipping when they mocked you. You kept believing when they called you crazy. And now? Now they're about to see what was worth protecting. Psalm 23:5 declares, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, not in their absence, in their presence." God is about to set a feast in your life while the very people who predicted your failure watch in stunned silence. He's about to promote you while those who demoted you stand there confused. He's about to restore what they said was gone forever. Write it below right now. My enemies will be confused. Don't just think it, declare it, because when you release that word into the atmosphere, you're not just making a statement, you're issuing a decree that aligns with heaven's courtroom. You're announcing what's already been decided in the realm of the Spirit. Your enemies thought October 10th would be just another day. But for you, it's the day when hidden becomes visible, when secret becomes undeniable, when confusion becomes their portion and clarity becomes yours. But here's what you need to understand, and this is critical. The confusion of your enemies is not the goal, it's the evidence. The goal is the unlocking of what God has been protecting inside you all along. And what's about to be unlocked will not only confuse them, it will completely rewrite the narrative of your life. So what exactly is this secret that's been hidden? What is it that God protected so fiercely that he let you endure hell itself to keep it safe? That's what we're about to uncover next. Now listen to me carefully, chosen one. I'm about to give you something most preachers won't: tangible proof, real markers. Evidence that what I'm telling you isn't religious fantasy, but prophetic reality unfolding in your actual life. Because here's what breaks my heart. You've been told to have faith, to keep believing, to hold on just a little longer. And you have. For decades, you've held on. But nobody told you what to look for when breakthrough finally arrives. So when God moves, you miss it because you're looking for thunder when he's sending whispers. October 10th changes that. After this date, 3 undeniable signs will begin appearing in your life. Not someday, not eventually, within days, maybe hours. And when you see them, you'll know with absolute certainty that the secret weapon God hid inside you has been activated. The first sign: sudden peace. Dear one, the first sign won't show up in your bank account. It won't arrive in your mailbox. It will rise up from somewhere deep inside your chest, a peace so profound, so unexplainable, that it makes absolutely no sense to anyone watching your circumstances. You're still living in the same apartment. The bills are still sitting on that table. Your children still haven't called. Nothing external has changed. But something internal has shifted so dramatically that you can barely recognize yourself. Philippians 4:7 calls it the peace of God, which transcends all understanding. But let me tell you what that really means. It means your mind is screaming one thing, but your spirit is singing another. It means anxiety tries to knock on your door at 3 a.m. like it always has. But this time, nobody's home to answer. Think about it. When was the last time you slept through the night without waking up in a cold sweat about money? When was the last time you made it through an entire day without that knot in your stomach tightening every time the phone rang? When was the last time you felt genuinely, inexplicably okay despite everything around you falling apart? That's the first sign. The storm is still raging outside, but there's a stillness inside that defies natural explanation. And beloved, when that peace settles over you like a warm blanket on a freezing New York winter night, don't question it. Don't analyze it. Don't try to talk yourself out of it by listing everything that's still wrong. That peace is proof. It's God's receipt that the transaction has been completed in the heavenly realm, and manifestation in the earthly realm is now inevitable. The second sign, unlikely favor. But the peace is just the beginning. The second sign is where heaven starts leaving physical evidence that cannot be denied. Suddenly, and I mean suddenly, doors start swinging open that you never knocked on. Phone calls come from people who haven't thought about you in 20 years. Checks arrive in the mail that make no logical sense. Approvals come through that were denied 3 times before. Strangers offer help you never asked for. This isn't coincidence, chosen one. This is divine conspiracy. Proverbs 11:27 says it plainly, "Whoever seeks good finds favor." But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. You've been seeking good your whole life. You've been faithful when faithfulness cost you everything. And now, after October 10th, the favor you've been sowing in secret is about to be harvested in public. I'm talking about the woman in the Bronx who opened her mailbox on October 12th and found a check for $847 from a class action lawsuit she didn't even know she was part of. I'm talking about the man in Staten Island whose landlord, his landlord, called him on October 14th and reduced his rent by $200 a month with no explanation. I'm talking about the grandmother in Harlem whose estranged daughter showed up at her door on October 16th with tears in her eyes saying, "Mom, I don't know why, but I had to come see you today." These are not random events. These are divine setups. This is God proving to you and to every enemy who counted you out that He has not forgotten your name, your address, or your bank account. And when these unlikely moments of favor start stacking up, one after another, week after week, you'll realize something that will bring you to your knees. You didn't have to beg for this. You didn't have to manipulate it. You didn't have to prove yourself worthy. Heaven simply decided it was time. The third sign, generational shift. But here's where it gets sacred. Here's where October 10th stops being about just you and becomes about your entire bloodline. The third sign is the one that will make you weep. Family members who haven't spoken to you in 5, 10, 15 years will begin reaching out. Grandchildren who were kept from you will suddenly show up. Relationships that were declared dead and buried will resurrect right before your eyes. This is the prodigal son story playing out in your living room. This is Joseph reuniting with the brothers who betrayed him. This is Esau running to embrace Jacob after decades of separation. Genesis 50:20 declares, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Every fractured relationship in your family, every betrayal, every silent treatment, every holiday you spent alone, God has been working it all together for this moment. Because October 10th doesn't just unlock your secret, It unlocks your legacy. The enemy tried to destroy your family line. He wanted your children to forget you, your grandchildren to never know you, your name to die with you. But God said, "Not this one. This lineage is mine, and I'm about to prove it." After October 10th, reconciliations you stopped praying for will begin happening spontaneously. The son who swore he'd never forgive you will call. The daughter who blocked your number will text. The grandchild you've only seen in photos will be sitting at your kitchen table, and when they ask what changed, you won't be able to explain it. You'll just know that something in the spiritual atmosphere shifted, and suddenly the walls came down. This is not just changing your life, chosen one. October 10th is changing your bloodline. Your descendants for 3, 4, 5 generations will look back at this date and say, "That's when everything turned around. That's when our family stopped breaking and started building." Right now, I need you to do something powerful. In the comments, type your family's last name. Not as a joke, not as a game. As a declaration that your lineage is included in this prophetic release. Say it out loud as you type it. Your name, family, is part of this move of God. Because when you declare it, heaven hears it. And what heaven hears, hell has to honor. But now you're wondering something, aren't you? You're thinking, this sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? What do I have to do to activate these signs? That's exactly what we need to talk about next. Listen to me, chosen one. I need you to understand something that's happening in the invisible realm right now. Between this moment and October 10th, hell is about to throw everything it has at you. Every demon that's been assigned to your destruction is mobilizing for one final assault. Why? Because the enemy knows what you don't know yet. He knows what God is about to unlock in your life, and he's terrified. Right before the opening comes the opposition. Think about this. When Pharaoh finally let Israel go, what did he do? He changed his mind. He gathered 600 of his best chariots and chased them to the edge of the Red Sea. Exodus 14:9 says he pursued them with all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen, and his army. Why? Because he knew that if they made it to the other side, his power over them was finished forever. That's where you are right now, standing at your Red Sea. The promised land is ahead of you, but behind you, every force of hell is charging with everything they've got. And I need you to understand, this is not random, this is strategic warfare. You want to know why your body hurts worse this week than it has in months? Why the medical bills are piling up right when you thought you were getting ahead? Why that pain in your chest, that ache in your joints, that exhaustion in your bones suddenly feels unbearable? This is not age, beloved. This is assignment. The enemy is attacking your strength because he knows you're going to need it for what's coming. Right before the opening comes the opposition. And it's not just your body. Look at your bank account. You've been faithful with your giving, faithful with your stewardship, but somehow the numbers don't add up. The bills are multiplying. The unexpected expenses keep hitting. Social security isn't stretching like it used to, and you're sitting there at your kitchen table at 2 in the morning, calculator in hand, wondering how you're going to make it through another month. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual resistance. The enemy is trying to get you so focused on the lack that you miss the abundance that's about to be released on October 10th. But here's what breaks my heart the most. The loneliness. Oh God, the loneliness. Your children don't call like they used to. Your grandchildren are too busy with their screens to visit. The friends you buried outnumber the friends you have left. You sit in that apartment in the Bronx, in that house in Staten Island, in that tiny room in Queens, and the silence is so loud it screams. And the enemy whispers, nobody cares. You don't matter anymore. You're forgotten. That is a lie from the pit of hell. Right before the opening comes the opposition. You see, the devil understands timing better than most Christians do. He knows that right before breakthrough, right before the unveiling, right before God reveals what he's been hiding, that's when he has to strike hardest. Because if he can get you to quit 3 days before your miracle, he wins. Look at David and Goliath. 1 Samuel 17. For 40 days that giant mocked Israel, 40 days of verbal assault, 40 days of psychological warfare. Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? He roared. But here's what most people miss. Goliath's mockery was loudest right before the stone struck. His defiance was most intense in the moments before his defeat. The closer David got, the louder Goliath screamed. That giant in your life, that sickness, that poverty, that loneliness, that shame, it's roaring right now because it knows its days are numbered. October 10th is coming, and when that secret is unlocked, everything that's been tormenting you is about to be silenced. Right before the opening comes the opposition. But I need to tell you something that's going to shake you. The warfare you're experiencing right now is actually proof that you're on the right track. Listen to me carefully. If the enemy wasn't afraid of what God is about to do in your life, he wouldn't be fighting you this hard. The intensity of the attack is directly proportional to the magnitude of the blessing. You think Jesus had it easy right before his resurrection? No. Matthew 27-66 tells us they sealed the tomb and posted guards. They took a stone, not a pebble, but a massive boulder, and rolled it over the entrance. Then they sealed it with Roman authority and stationed armed soldiers to make sure nothing moved. Why? Because even in death, even buried, even seemingly defeated, they knew something was about to happen. They could feel the rumbling, they could sense the shifting, and so they threw everything they had at keeping that tomb closed. But Sunday morning came anyway. And no stone, no seal, no soldier could stop what God had already ordained. You're in your Saturday right now, beloved. The tomb is sealed, the guards are posted, the enemy thinks he's won. But October 10th is your resurrection morning, and everything that's been locked down is about to burst open. If the warfare feels unbearable right now, it's proof you're closer than ever to the unveiling. Think about what you're facing right now. That diagnosis the doctor just gave you. That notice from the bank. That call you didn't receive from your daughter. That pain that wakes you up at 3 a.m. and won't let you sleep. That fear that grips your heart when you think about next month, next year, the rest of your life. The enemy wants you to interpret all of that as evidence that God has abandoned you. But I'm telling you, it's evidence that you're standing on the edge of your greatest breakthrough. The darker it gets, the closer the dawn. The harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. Right before the opening comes the opposition. So what do? You stand. Ephesians 6:13 doesn't say fight and fight and fight until you collapse. It says having done all, to stand. You don't have to defeat the enemy. Jesus already did that. You just have to refuse to quit. You just have to hold your ground. You just have to make it to October 10th. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to make it. Not because you're strong enough, but because the one who lives inside you is stronger than anything coming against you. 1 John 4:4, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. The enemy is throwing everything at you because he knows his time is short. He knows October 10th is coming. He knows the secret is about to be revealed, and he's desperate. But desperation is not power, it's panic, and panic means he's already lost. If you're feeling the weight of this battle right now, if every word I'm speaking is hitting you like a hammer on your heart, I need you to do something. Type "I will not quit" in the comments. Not for me, for you. Let your fingers declare what your mouth is too tired to say. Let the enemy see that even exhausted, even wounded, even surrounded, you refuse to surrender. Type it now, "I will not quit." Because, beloved, October 10th is coming, whether the enemy likes it or not. And when that day arrives, when that secret is unlocked, you're going to look back at this moment and understand why the battle was so fierce. You're going to see that the intensity of the warfare was simply the measure of the magnitude of what God was about to release. But here's the question that will determine everything. Can you hold on for a few more days? Can you stand when everything in you wants to fall? Can you believe when sight says it's impossible? Because what God is about to reveal on October 10th isn't just for you. It's for every enemy who thought they'd buried you. And they're about to find out what happens when God decides to show up on behalf of someone who refused to quit. Chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred moment together, I need you to carry 3 eternal truths with you, like precious stones in your pocket. First, October 10th is not just another day, it's your divine appointment with destiny. The secret God has been hiding from your enemies is about to be unveiled, and everything you've endured has been preparing you for this moment. Second, the warfare, intensifying right now, is not evidence of God's absence, it's proof of your proximity to breakthrough. Right before the opening comes the opposition. The enemy's panic is your confirmation that something magnificent is about to be released. And third, you are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not too old, too late, or too damaged. You are positioned, prepared, and about to be promoted in ways that will leave your enemies speechless. But beloved, I need you to know something deeper than knowledge, something that settles in your bones like warm honey on a cold morning. You are not walking this journey alone. Even now, in this very moment, the God who spoke galaxies into existence is working behind the scenes of your life. He's moving mountains you can't see. He's opening doors you haven't found yet. He's orchestrating blessings that will arrive right on time. And beyond God's presence, you have something equally powerful, this community. Right here, right now, thousands of your brothers and sisters are watching this same message. They're feeling the same stirring in their spirit. They're fighting the same battles. They're believing for the same breakthrough. You belong to a family that understands your pain, because we've walked through our own fires and came out refined, not ruined. So let me ask you this final question, and let it settle deep into the chambers of your heart. If God has brought you this far through every storm, through every valley, through every night that felt endless, why would He abandon you 3 days before your miracle? He wouldn't, He won't, He never has, and He never will. Now, before I release you into your destiny, join me in prayer. Wherever you are, sitting in your living room, lying in your bed, standing in your kitchen, I want you to receive these words as if I'm standing right there with you, my hand on your shoulder, speaking life over every area of your existence. Father God, Almighty Creator, Ancient of Days, I come before you right now, carrying every precious soul who has watched this message from beginning to end. Lord, they stayed. They didn't scroll away. They didn't give up. That alone tells me everything I need to know about the hunger in their hearts and the calling on their lives. I pray for the grandmother in Queens whose arthritis is screaming tonight, whose bank account is empty, whose phone hasn't rung in 3 days. Touch her body right now, Father. Let healing flow through her bones. Let provision flood her account. Let her children remember her worth and pick up that phone. I pray for the grandfather in Brooklyn who built a life with his bare hands only to watch it crumble. Restore what the locusts have eaten, Lord. Give him beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. I pray for every chosen one watching this who has cried themselves to sleep, wondering if you forgot their address. Remind them, Father, that you've never lost track of a single sparrow, and they are worth more than thousands of sparrows. Let them feel your presence so powerfully tonight that every doubt evaporates like morning mist. God, I speak protection over their minds, their bodies, their finances, their families. Between now and October 10th, dispatch angels to guard them. Silence every lying voice. Defeat every attack of the enemy. Let them walk through this final battle, knowing that the victory is already won. And Father, on October 10th, when you unlock the secret you've been hiding from their enemies, let the manifestation be so undeniable that even their doubters will have to acknowledge your hand on their lives. Let abundance replace lack. Let health replace sickness. Let peace replace anxiety. Let hope replace despair. I seal this prayer with the authority of the name of Jesus, who wore a crown of thorns so they could wear a crown of glory, who carried a cross so they could carry resurrection power, who descended into death so they could ascend into abundant life. Let it be done, Lord. Let your will manifest in their reality. Let October 10th mark the turning point where everything shifts from barely surviving to abundantly thriving. In Jesus' mighty, matchless, magnificent name, Amen. Now, beloved, I want to hear from you. Don't leave this moment in silence. In the comments below, tell us what God spoke to your heart during this message. Share the specific area of your life where you need breakthrough. Ask this community to pray with you, because when 2 or 3 gather in His name, He is there in the midst. And if this message stirred something deep in your spirit, if you know someone who needs to hear these words, your sister struggling with loneliness, your brother drowning in financial fear, your neighbor who's lost all hope, share this video with them. Send it as a text message. Post it on your page. Email it to someone who needs to know they're not alone in this battle. Because chosen one, we rise together, we pray together, we break through together. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. Every week, we're releasing words that heaven is speaking specifically to the chosen ones in this generation. You don't want to miss what's coming next, because October 10th is just the beginning of what God is about to do. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for fighting through the distractions, for choosing to believe that your story isn't over. It's just getting to the good part. Walk forward with your head high, chosen one. October 10th is coming. The secret is about to be unlocked. And your enemies are about to discover what happens when God decides to show up on behalf of someone who refused to quit. You are loved. You are chosen. You are never, ever alone. Now go in peace, go in power, and go in the absolute certainty that the best is yet to come. God bless you mightily. Until we meet again, stand strong.